12, 2025. It's the 4th year, day 288, since the full-scale invasion began. A warm welcome, I greet you, to the Daily Situation Report. Thanks to everyone who donated yesterday for the wounded transporters. The first 5% is already done. The highest single donation, just like last time, will receive a signed war and tactic flag. I'm just a poor student, but of course I will also donate. Currently, we have 72,929 subscribers. The next milestone is, of course, 100,000. So, from today until the campaign ends this month, I'll donate 4 cents for each new subscriber, so that in the end, we reach a good 4-digit amount, which won't leave me out on the street as a student. All the information about this can be found at the top of the video description. Let's see how things are going at the front. The eastern district of Siversk has fallen. The Russians are currently fighting for control of the main train station, which is pretty central in the city. At the moment, it seems like they are. Ukrainians can't hold the situation. If the city center falls, they can defend the west using just 2 bridges. That would be this bridge here, as well as the bridge down here, and also this small one here. So actually there are 3 bridges, but I'm not sure if this bridge here is still standing. I've heard otherwise about that, but unfortunately I don't have any pictures of it yet. But that would give them the opportunity to leave the Russians here east of the water, but then they would be restricted to a very narrow area, which would again benefit the Russian artillery. Let's see how they will respond to the Russian attacks here in the next few hours. We'll reassess in the next situation report on the 7th. The 7th Ukrainian Army Corps has reported something near Pokrovs. Pokrovs is located a bit further south right here. They reported the withdrawal from 3 villages, here at Dechenska, Lisivka, and Swikeja. According to their own statements, the units moved shortly before to newly prepared, better fortified positions to protect personnel, improve supplies, and of course straighten the front line. This place down here was always one where I wondered why they held out for so long. But as you can see, it worked. The Russians didn't make any progress here for a long time, even though 2 of the places were half occupied the whole time. Still, it's a bad spot, especially with heavy fighting at Myrnarath. The Russians are also capturing the southern part here. It would be very bad if Ukrainian soldiers were here when Russians capture a key position. They have now withdrawn to positions that I suspect are somewhere here in the yellow area, since more fighting is currently being reported here again. Also here, from the area towards the artillery zone, which the Russians have increasingly shelled some time ago. The situation around Myrnarath itself remains very tense, of course. Last week, Russian aircraft dropped 21 more glide bombs just on this part down here, which is, of course, a lot for such a small area, but there is nothing new from the city itself. That means the situation here seems to be unchanged. The only and actually significant change in the situation is here in the south of the half pocket. The fighter bomber channel, also known as the unofficial Air Force channel, is among the most reliable and well-informed Russian sources on the aerospace forces. Reports that a Sukhoi 34 crew lost their lives after they unexpectedly triggered the ejection seat system in a shelter. Both the pilot and the navigator died on the ground or on the ceiling of the shelter. To clarify, an aircraft is prepared by the crew before takeoff. For this, bombs, fuel tanks, and ammunition are attached. And in addition, the aircraft is also prepared for the flight by the maintenance crew, that is, by the aircraft technicians, once before the flight and of course also once after the flight. Then the pilot comes and inspects the aircraft while they finish preparing it together, and he also completes his routine tasks in the cockpit. All of this still happens inside the shelter, not outside, basically in a hangar. But now, when the ejection seat is triggered, it throws the occupants out with a G-force of briefly 15 to 23 G. Many pilots who have used the ejection seat before have suffered injuries to the spine, head, or other limbs because the ejection seat is just that powerful. During the process, you're also thrown another 60 to 100 meters. The problem is, if an aircraft is in a bomb-proof shelter, you don't fly 60 meters up, but instead you hit a concrete ceiling at full speed that's only about 6 meters above you. Anyone surviving that would wish they died. How is that possible? Currently, it's assumed that it was a maintenance error, one of many. Less than a week ago, I said incidents like this would become more common. Today, we already have the next on the list. But honestly, what should I expect from a ground crew that transports 500-kilo bombs the way they did in that video? Here, the Ukrainians have suffered a similar loss. The Ukrainian Air Force reports the death of Lieutenant Colonel Ivanov, chief navigator of the 39th Tactical Aviation Brigade. He was killed today, December 8th, during an Air Force 227 mission in eastern Ukraine. The warning died in combat, but the exact details were not given. The governor of Samara described the situation on the Russian market quite carefully and actually in detail. Listen to this.
At present, we have negative growth. That is, unfortunately, our market has been negative for the past few years due to certain economic factors. Therefore, just like last year, we clearly understand that this will not be positive growth, but negative.
For those who can't read the subtitle, I'll quote it now. We have growth everywhere, growth throughout December in all sectors, but not positive growth, rather negative growth. In his opinion, this is due to economic phenomena. Feel free to write in the comments what kind of phenomena these could be. I'm sure you already know. People will do anything for money. We discussed this yesterday. Watch this video of a Russian soldier who says he's from the 25th reporting certain circumstances. He says he's from the 25th Army and explains that his own comrades tried to kill him because he complained about the Army's schemes. And it was about eliminating soldiers. The typical nulling, in case you don't remember what that is. That's what the soldiers call it when commanders deliberately send unpopular soldiers, or those who can't be blackmailed or exploited, to die in hopeless attacks. After he escaped from the hospital, his whereabouts were sold for cash, and now get this, by his own wife. According to a high-ranking European official, the United States continues to pressure Kiev to cede the entire Donbas region as part of a peace deal. Ukraine rejects this and insists on freezing the current front, where they still hold about 30% of Donbas. Zelensky warns that such a trade of territory would only encourage Moscow and make future attacks more likely, essentially trading peace for land. The current result is that talks are still stuck, and the gap between the Western desire for de-escalation and the Ukrainian security realities is simply too wide. If Russia got what they want, Ukraine would lose good positions. They would also end up just like back then when Czechoslovakia ceded the Sudetenland to the German Reich for peace and Hitler marched in again 6 months later to take the rest. At the Moscow Kavatnya oil plant, hundreds of men from India, Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Central Asia are lining up in long rows. Jobs that were mostly done by local Russians in the past are now being handed over to these people. The cameraman's comment is quite revealing. Quote, "There are no more local men. The Kremlin hides official casualty numbers, but the truth is now clear. Mobilization, prisoners, wounded, and immigration have noticeably thinned out the male workforce in the capital, and now foreigners have to take their place." The fact that a strategically important refinery is relying heavily on foreign workers is a clear warning sign. It points to the acute shortage of skilled and unskilled workers, rising labor costs, and increasing safety and quality risk in critical infrastructure. For Moscow, this secure substitution is less a political embarrassment and more a real capacity issue. The war drains resources at the front and pulls people from the domestic economy. At this point, I wonder why he doesn't just send them to the front and keep his own people. A personal thank you goes to the Algo Crew channel members and especially to Lieutenant Colonel Reniki. And with that, I thank you for listening. Leave a subscription, like, comments, and see you in the next situation report.